My name is Terri Monture. I'm a staff representative with the Canadian Media Guild, and I'm also a Mohawk from the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory in Southern Ontario. My job is specifically around human rights and equity issues, but I also do standard staff representation, which is grievance representation, arbitration, bargaining for those groups. I've been a labor activist since 1996 when I was approached to be a bargaining representative in my then workplace at Now Magazine here in Toronto. And I was on maternity leave at the time, so I went to the bargaining table with my daughter, and because she was still teeny tiny at that point, and I got hooked. And I have been spending the last 16 years really devoting myself to the labor movement. And I think that for me as an Aboriginal woman, the labor movement is the only institution in Canada that actually is reflective of a broader social justice values and struggles that I, as an Indigenous woman in this country, can relate to. And the one place where I can actually do something and make a difference is in the workplace. So that's why I'm in the labor movement. I really, really believe that if you can get justice in the workplace, it's a small corner where justice is actually happening and can spread. So that's my philosophy about why I'm a labor activist. What have unions done and not done for Aboriginal workers and workers of color? The number one thing that they've done is recognize that there's struggles that link collectively. And for me, that's really important. They've also given us a place and a space at the table. However, I don't really believe that the structure of how unions operate now has really opened it up enough to Aboriginal and worker of color leadership. And that's something that we need to work on, especially if we're going to really gain justice in this country. And as things go forward and we're fighting against a really radical, fundamentally capitalist government and also like corporations, we really need to get those voices organized and upright and being very present in the dialogue. Otherwise, it's just going to get swept away and we're going to recede even more. I think it's very important that unions recognize there's a lot of leadership potential and a lot of really interesting people who can really contribute to the discussion and to the militancy that we're going to need in the next little while. I really think that the labor movement, in order to be effective, is going to have to get back to the old style, sit-down strikes and really militant activity, because we are totally at war. I really feel like that. Sometimes it feels like I'm struggling every day. And I want to be in the labor movement for the good things in life, for the roses, right, as the song says, not just the bread. And so that's why we really need to be pushing forward an agenda that is about equity and is about representation and about voices, and not just about looking that way, but also being that way. And that's a really important issue for me.